Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Nathan Drake.
Yeah, parkour.
How did he get
that
those
parkour?
guns? How did he get those guns?
Well, now we see how he got that shoulder holster.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman. And
we just watched Uncharted.
Uncharted.
More like Uncharted.
Fun-sharded.
Fun-sharded. That's what they should have called
it.
500 years ago, my family found the world's biggest fortune, then was betrayed. People have been searching for it all in vain.
Both you turn your keys clockwise at the same time.
Thanks a lot. You almost got me killed. Clockwise, Sully. Well, it was 50-50, so I made a guess.
Oh.
He's sharded at least once doing all that parkour.
Oh, God, of course.
Like, he's whipping around, like, scrambling up the side of, like, fucking Basilica in Rome, which is, oh, dear,
Oh, yeah.
Like, vaulting a little marble balcony, and just, like, a little dribble comes out.
Just down the leg, the side of the leg.
You can't be that loose and not have a little leakage. No. That's all I'm saying.
People are like, we're like tubes of toothpaste. If you bend us, some of the toothpaste is going to squeeze out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just biology.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is we did a Twitter vote to see this or Texas Chainsaw, and Twitter voted this. I don't know if we would have honored it either way. I was going to see this movie.
Yeah, I was going to watch both films, which I made abundantly clear when I shared that poll on Twitter, Dave.
I've been very excited for Uncharted. I only just realized it's from the director of Venom.
Yeah.
And Zombieland.
Yeah, Ruben Fleischer.
Yeah, and so generally speaking, nothing against this director, but the movies he made, I've generally been like lukewarm on. Like Zombieland.
He also did
Venom.
the most recent Terminator, did he not?
No.
That was Deadpool. That was the Deadpool director.
Yes.
Tim Miller. That's
yes.
Right. Okay.
It's written by a bunch of like Hollywood guys.
Yeah.
They wrote like Iron Man. They wrote one of the Punishers, one of the Transformers, Men in Black. I'm just setting the stage here.
Sure.
What did you think of Uncharted?
Dave, I'm gonna come out of the gate pretty hot. I really liked this movie.
Yeah, so did I, Tom.
Okay.
Well, okay, I have problems with it, but here's how I'll frame it.
I really don't. I have like one issue. I have like one problem, but yes, please lay it on me.
The way I'll frame it is my problem is with what's not in the movie, meaning that I like everything in the movie.
That's a good
sense.
start. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Yeah. I liked it all. I enjoyed all of it.
I came out of the theater. It's to a similar degree when we came out of Dark Phoenix, although I did not like Dark Phoenix. But like this movie is getting middling to not good reviews. I think it's sitting at like a 37 or 38% on Rotten Tomatoes and like a 45% on Metacritic, so which is a little
Dark
closer
Phoenix,
to the middle.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix also had this problem where it got tore up.
Like,
and then I watched it and I was like, wait, what's the problem?
Like hyperbolically bad reviews. And then I watched them, like with Dark Phoenix, I was like, well, this isn't good, but it's not radioactive horse shit. And then this movie, I enjoyed, and I really, like, I came out of the theater genuinely puzzled. I was like, what was everyone's problem with this?
I had, like, there was, like, a Polygon article that was, like, it's one more like affront to gamers yet another betrayal of gamers, and I'm like, I'm not sure.
I really disagree with that. Like, it's
me too.
If you're
Uncharted.
If you're a fan of the Uncharted games, if you've played all 4 of the games in the main series, not counting the PS Vita game that they did, it takes elements from all the games, but it really focuses on the sort of backstory between Nate and his brother, and like Nate sort of before he becomes the hero of Uncharted that they introduce in the 4th game. It's like all of this, everything in this movie is completely the Uncharted game's DNA, 100%.
Right. So we've both played all the games, right?
Yeah. I've actually played each game multiple times.
Yes. Me too. I love the games.
Yeah.
That was the thing, is I thought the bad reviews at first was like, oh, maybe they just didn't play the games. But like when the game reviewers are like, it's bad, so
like
here's
that shit's like an affront or a betrayal to gamers. It's like, shut up.
I'm not sure what they what they wanted.
What are you talking about? Like, what?
Because there's 2 things that I thought was missing from this. Mm-hmm. One, they can't do a thing about. One is not their fault. The first thing, needed better puzzles. Needed the treasure hunting. It wasn't quite there. Like, spoilers, he finds the treasure at the end by just boating into a cove.
Right, but he had to do National Treasure puzzles to find the cove.
Yeah, but like, why didn't anybody else find it? It's right there. Like, he just boats in.
He just boats in and it's right there, yeah.
Yeah, and the puzzles basically boiled down to keys. Yeah. Of just like the same key over and over again. So that said, I really like the one thing they did where Sully has to be up above and they are up below. That was great.
That was really cool. I
would say that's not good puzzling. That's good adventuring.
I liked all the adventure sequences. Like the puzzles. Too. The puzzles were fine. I could use a little bit more, but it aired on the Indiana Jones side of things, where the puzzles were never super complicated and were always kind of solved really quickly. It was more about the games of the adventure scenes, and nothing. There
was still like they could have done. Remember, I hate that I'm using this example in National Treasure, where they have to balance themselves on the thing.
Yeah,
I needed more of that. I needed more of like, if I jump over here, then this thing goes down, and I wanted more puzzle. And like I said, it's fine as is. It's more balanced towards adventure, I would say, than a treasure hunting.
I prefer the Indiana Jones direction. Like, I actually don't like that kind of crap in a movie.
But Indiana Jones still had, like, spelling Jehovah. The penitent man kneels before God. It still had puzzles. This doesn't really have puzzles. Not in any... Like, I would just say the puzzles weren't strong in this.
Sure.
They were pretty straightforward.
I mean, we have a couple of sequences where he has to go through this journal and figure out clues from that and clues from like his brother's postcard. He spends about as much time on it as Indiana Jones did. Like, I didn't really feel that absence as much.
Sure.
You enjoy the National Treasure movies a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
Like, I think the National Treasure movies get too cartoonish in their puzzles.
Right. I'm not even talking about too much more. It just it felt like could have had slightly better puzzles, slightly more puzzles. My other critique is I needed this movie to be about 8 hours long.
Yeah. I needed it to be at least 2 or 3 times as long as it was. What I was gonna say when you mentioned the
sure.
above and below puzzle with its Mark Wahlberg up top and it's Nate and Chloe below, like, there's every set piece in the movie I enjoyed. Like,
me too.
They don't, obviously nobody gets anywhere near the truck chase from Raiders or anything like that, but like,
this is not Indiana Jones. It's hard to yeah,
and it's hard to beat Spielberg at those kinds of games.
I would also say there's just a certain thing that, again, it's not the movie's fault. It just made me kind of sad about movies. Is like, there are stunts in this, but they're all it's how they do it now. It's whenever there's fighting, they do that as a stunt. And then whenever there's vehicles, they like CGI it, or any big set pieces. And like, there's not much they could do about it in this because the set pieces are like, well, they would be models if it was made in the 80s.
They would still be green screened. It would just be a different technology. And I appreciated, like, the effects look really good, and they try to use the actors in those sequences. Like, they try to put as much real physical stuff into those sequences as they can. So, like, you can have the sequence where Nate is hanging out of the back of the plane, climbing across the crates, and there's enough real things in it. Like, he's really jumping from one point to another.
Right.
So like, the physics of that, it's.
And I would also argue that sequence is really well choreographed, like the stuff that's happening on the plane and off the plane.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that sequence. But imagine if take that sequence, replace it with a car chase, a practical car chase, like a Mad Max practical car chase, and I think that would have blown me away if they did it right. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's still all just CG, and they're on this plane, and yes, that's in the game. And like I said, the sequence is done well. This is what I mean is like it just kind of made me sad about movies right now, where it's like the sensibilities are, I feel, skewed, because it's like, imagine if they had just done a little more. Like I just generally wasn't blown away by the big action set pieces because they're all fake. And it would have been nice to see this be more stunt oriented, more like car chases, trucks. Like practical plane stuff, practical boat stuff, like more in the line of when you watch Indiana Jones, and it's like they're doing these actual stunts on actual vehicles and stuff. And yes, it's not as grand as a plane with all this shit hanging off of it, or pirate ships being flown by helicopters, but frankly, it's real, and therefore it's more impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like I could see a million ships being flown by helicopters, but if it's CGI, it's like, yeah, I mean, you can do that.
They do enough. Like I still, even though the big set pieces are, a lot of CG and a lot of green screen stuff, they for me, they still did enough. Like there's a lot, like Tom Holland's doing a lot of games on the ship itself, and that's a real set, and he's doing I was legitimately surprised by how much practical stunt work there is in this movie.
Well, it's not even, for me, it's like it what makes it work. Like, again, I do wish they had this style of movie. It would have been better, I think, if they kept it more grounded, weirdly enough. But it reminds me of like Tintin, where that movie's all CGI. Mm-hmm. But there's some captivating action sequences because it's Spielberg and he knows how to do that stuff. I would say it's the same here for the reasons you're saying.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's some practical stunts, but also every little bit is like a fun little story. They're using various props in their environment. It's never not interesting.
Yeah, they do really well with the games in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where going back to, like, I'm just kind of sad about that. This is like, this could be better. In my mind, it could have been better.
Yeah.
If they had just sort of thought about it more like an adventure movie. But what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it was filmed during COVID. That's just how movies are made now. Because it certainly wasn't a cheap movie.
No, but like my 2 notes is basically like, okay, I have 3 notes. Is like for Uncharted 2, I'd be like, dial it back, make more practical set pieces, make it feel more like a stunt show, make the puzzles a little more interesting, and I'm gonna need about 8 more hours.
Yeah,
I'm serious. They should have made a TV show. Yeah, in my opinion,
I'd have watched the shit out of it. He does so much parkour. Like, I was delighted by how much little parkour there is. Like, he'll just slip it in. Like, every chance there's an opportunity for Tom Holland to do his fucking Billy Elliot parkour, he fucking does it, and it's great.
And that's Nathan Drake.
And that's Drake. Like, that's the game.
And they don't call too much attention to it. They're not like
he just does
hanging
it
off of things. Yeah, he's just doing it.
It's like, it reminded me, obviously it's not as skilled or as elegant, but a lot of the beats they do with Tom Holland remind me of Jackie Chan movies, where it's just, they don't call a lot of attention to it. He just does it in the scene. Yep. Like, as he's climbing into a hole, it's like, well, he could just dive in there, or he could run up the wall and flip around and slide in there, and that's what he fucking does. And it's great.
Right. It is great.
I love it.
I hope he keeps going with that. I hope he's taking more and more like classes and shit and doing more of his own stunts. I'm serious, by the way, about why I need it to be 8 hours. I need to explain this.
Okay.
Or maybe you already know, is that my other criticism of this film is it didn't feel like Uncharted for a very funny reason, which is like, I'm going to need like 6 more fake outs. 6 more, ooh, this is the treasure. Nope, it's another clue.
Yeah.
Because that's what Uncharted is. And that's why I guess what it is when you play Uncharted and you get to the actual treasure, it's really cathartic because you've been playing it for so long.
Yeah.
And they have more time to also have an emotional impact with the characters. Mm-hmm. Like, often like it's just a little more like, oh, I'm kind of sad about the villain, or like, oh, it's like there's more of a complexity to it. So like, I seriously think they should have done a Treasure a Season TV show. I think that would have been fantastic.
Oh yeah. That would be my favorite show.
Yeah. It would have been so good.
It would have been fucking $600 million a season. It would have bankrupted many studios, but I think we deserve it.
We deserve it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg.
Sure.
Tom Holland, I kind of assumed he'd be good because he's not as mean as Nathan Drake. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, yeah, but it's Tom Holland has that, like, he's going to be around for a long time. Yeah. And he has that, like, funny innocence. Like, everything is, he's basically kind of doing Spider-Man a little bit.
A little bit.
And it's okay because it's really charming, even if it's not Nathan Drake exactly. It's like, I'm really enjoing it.
He's enough Nathan Drake that I accept him as like young Nathan Drake.
Right. And I kind of,
he hasn't had years to have like Sully sort of like rub off on him. Like he hasn't gotten quite as bitter and jaded as Nate is when the games start.
Right. I would say Mark Wahlberg, I could give or take him. I don't need Mark Wahlberg to play this role. That said, it worked. It worked just fine.
I thought he worked really well. Like, I was surprised at how well he worked, because he was the weirdest thing about this movie for me going into it, because he's so, like, the character in the game is so different from a Mark Wahlberg character. But when the movie gets going and you sort of realize the kind of role he's playing in the film, Mark Wahlberg really works because he's a character that you're kind of not sure about. Like, you're not really supposed to completely like him or completely trust him.
That's what I'm getting. Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is like, I think what makes it work is that they focused on the fact that Sully is a scumbag.
Yes.
And he is in the games, but we sort of know him as like, he's a scumbag, but he's like Nathan's friend.
He's your scumbag, yeah.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
We know he'll betray, when the games start, we know he will betray absolutely anyone except for Nate.
Right. And so we're getting him like before even that. It is a very much an origin story, and I would say a lot of the, like, we joked about the guns, that was dumb, and as far as I'm concerned, it was like, just give him the stupid because they like play the theme when he puts the stupid but the one thing that they do focus on origin wise that was good is Mark Wahlberg, or rather Sully, he's just treasure horny.
Yeah.
To the point that he lies to Nathan about his brother, who he saw get shot, and doesn't tell him that. And he's just like a weird scumbag about it. Like, when he's found out, he doesn't really like apologize.
No, not at all.
He's just an asshole about it.
Right. He's like, yeah, so I figured, he's like, well, you didn't tell me about this. Like, well, yeah, because if I told you wouldn't come with me. And now, anyway, so you want to get the people that shot your brother, right? So let's go. Come on. Like,
right.
He's such a scumbag. He doesn't even attempt to apologize. No.
They also do it with Chloe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The character Chloe, who betrays them as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's my one other criticism. Mm-hmm. Needs more fucking. They clearly had a fuck scene that they could have put in there when they stop at the island, and I believe meet the voice of Nathan Drake.
Yeah,
is that who that guy was?
That's Nolan North. Yeah,
yeah,
it's 100% Nathan Drake. Yeah, they played the theme a little bit right there too.
Yeah, and he's just like practically looks at the camera.
Yeah,
and goes, "I'm Nathan Drake."
Yeah.
But There should have been fucking there, right?
There probably was, and they cut it. I think they cut it out because it's clear they slept in the same bed.
Yeah.
Needed
more fucking.
Yeah, I do like what they did with her, because they could have, like, it's an Uncharted story, so like there's 19 double crosses.
Yes.
So everybody's double crossing everybody else, but we learn enough about Chloe that everything she does makes total sense. So it's not like, it never feels like double crossing just for the sake of throwing an interesting wrinkle into the movie. Like, it makes sense when the characters do it.
You're right. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded either way, because the key is everybody's a scumbag.
Right. Everybody fucking
Nathan
sucks.
Drake's a scumbag. Everybody's a fucking scumbag.
Yeah.
And the bad guys double cross Antonio Banderas, gets his fucking throat cut.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's just double crossing everybody.
That's kind of the first game too, if you recall, like the main, and I think they do this in 3 as well. They do it a couple of times, but it's like who you think is the main villain is not in fact the main villain. It ends up becoming their right hand man, who in this movie is that this fucking badass lady named Braddock.
Yeah, she's killing
just slashing people's necks with a Harpy knife, like fucking Hannibal Lecter, like Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
in Hannibal.
Yeah. This is another thing where it's like, there's nothing the movie could do about it. It did feel like it needed a little more grit with that. Like, I know it's PG-13 and it doesn't need to be R.
No,
but
the games are PG-13.
I guess my question is, why is Indiana Jones seem so much more gnarly? Even though I know PG was like, there was no PG-13.
Indiana Jones has more, and the Uncharted games have this too, but they sort of left it out of this movie. Indiana Jones has more horror in its DNA, and I think that just comes from Spielberg, because Spielberg he could have been a horror guy. He started out that way.
I guess what it is like, I don't feel like this in Indiana Jones. I don't feel like Indiana Jones has more blood than this.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's
just like, how did they pull it off? Was it because we were kids? Like, there's still this feeling of like, why can't they make it dirtier? Why can't they make it grittier when like Indiana Jones can manage that? And I'm trying to think, is it psychological? Is it me? You know what I mean?
No, I think you're correct, because the stuff that happens, like even in Crystal Skull, it's objectively gnarlier. Like, a man gets dragged into an ant's nest in Crystal Skull. Like, it's just the ideas are gnarlier, and Spielberg's a better director, so he knows how to make those moments of violence, even though there's not necessarily either much blood or any at all. It still is more impactful just because he's Spielberg.
Yeah. You know what it also is, I think, is this was something I think actually Red Letter Media pointed out as a critique of Crystal Skull, is that they don't like anymore, like, again, and this is more of like movies in general, like Indiana Jones doesn't like all his murders in the newest ones are indirect. They're not like, he has like one murder, and that's when he kills the guy by blowing in the blow dart. But there's this weird
Ernie Reyes Jr. Actually,
yeah, it is Ernie Reyes Jr. But that's his only like direct murder, and the idea is like it feels like the same with this, where it's like the hero can't just shoot someone anymore, and it's like, I kind of get it. I get why.
Nate kills a couple of people in this movie,
but does he kill them, or does he swing on a rope and kick them into the ocean? You know what I mean?
I mean, that is killing them.
I know. I'm not saying he doesn't kill people. I'm saying that it's the means in which they kill people. I think
that is a staple of adventure. Like, it's like kicking somebody into a piranha river. You know what I mean? Or like in Indiana Jones, where he knocks in Temple of Doom, he knocks the big guy into the rock crusher. You know, that's just happens in adventure movies, where you go to exotic locations and people get booted into like they get like stage fatalities done to them.
But as you pointed out, into a rock crusher, as opposed to a CGI person flying into an ocean, and we don't really feel it.
I think that's more to your previous point about how Indiana Jones feels gnarlier. It's just because
that's what I mean.
The ideas are gnarlier. I think Nate is still killing people directly when he kicks somebody into the ocean.
Is. But it's the idea of like they pad it. It's padded murder. We're not going to show anything too grisly, and he's certainly not going to shoot someone because that's just too real.
He shoots at. No, I think you're right. I don't think he actually shoots anyone, but he does shoot many guns.
Right, and I'm not saying they needed to do this stuff. It's just I was trying to identify what the difference is, why Indiana Jones feels grittier, and I really think that's part of it.
Oh, he straight up kills that Scottish dude with a cannon.
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But again, does the cannonball hit the Scottish dude?
No, it hits the helicopter and he crashes and dies.
Which crashes. That's what I mean. It's all indirect murder. It's all sanitized murder. This is such a weird it's a weird conversation. It's just more of the sensibilities of today.
It's
where it's like we're not going to show, like, I feel like Indiana Jones, that cannonball would have slammed him. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, it would have been slightly more grisly. It would have been slightly more gnarly.
You could get away with more then too. Like it's I think that is more to do with they don't, because when Antonio Banderas, spoilers, gets his throat slashed and then Braddock becomes the main villain, there's not much blood there. It's just like a red line of blood across his throat. They do not want to risk their PG-13 rating. So they're not going to have a guy get his head ripped off by a cannonball. They're going to have the cannonball hit the helicopter and he's going to crash and explode.
Right. And that's what I mean is, like, it doesn't feel like it's Uncharted's fault. It has to do with, like, it's the old man. They don't make him like they used to, where it feels like they had to, like, hold back a little bit. Because, yeah, like you said, Antonio Banderas gets his throat slit. It's like that, you know, and then they show, like, a little red line.
Yeah, and
it's like,
they cut away from it when it happens. Like, it's
yeah.
They're trying to make sure they don't get a PG-13, and the rules are...
It shouldn't be R. It shouldn't be R.
No, it absolutely shouldn't be R. I think that also has to do with, like, internationally is a much bigger focus than it was in the early 80s when they were making Indiana Jones movies. And different countries have very different sensibilities and sensitivities to violence.
Absolutely.
Like, I know, like, somebody getting kicked in the head, I think, is like an R rating in some countries.
Right.
So it's like they really are trying to make sure that they get this PG-13 across all markets.
It's kind of a shame. Like, this is a broader conversation about how we will allow murder in movies, and yet we have to sanitize it. Like, that makes murder better.
Yep.
And it's like, that is like, and that's exactly what you're saying, is they're thinking globally.
Yeah.
And that's like, I guess I was frustrated with it in this context because they were doing such a good job with everything, and I knew they had to like again, they should have fucked. I mean, I don't need full penetration, but like we needed like a sex scene. We needed them to start making out and get on the bed, and then we fade to like some swans or something, you know?
Yeah.
Some swans fucking on the beach.
Some swans fucking just ripping each other's holes apart.
Yeah, because they were doing
weird swan sex.
Just blasting their holes.
Screeching, making swan noises, whatever they sound like. I don't know what they sound like.
Because they're doing such a good job with the idea that these characters are gritty. They're betraying each other. They're shitty. They're assholes, but they're really fun to watch. They're charismatic. They were doing all that stuff, and it was really good. It just, like, I just wish there was that level of grease on there. But, you know, what are you going to do?
I don't know.
Another thing I really liked was how they show all the artifacts, like, modernized, where they go to that dumb club.
That is so good. Because that shit, that happens. That happens.
Yeah. Yeah,
like, there's what,
where is it? Not Barcelona. Is it Barcelona?
It was Barcelona, yeah.
I like it because it's also, it's such a racist movie thing to do, where they show it and it, like, the country is still for some reason in the Stone Age, you know, like, they do that. They do that often.
Yeah, it's the example I was about to bring up is every picture you ever see of the Great Pyramids makes it look like they're out like in these, but it's like 100 feet away. There's a strip of fast food restaurants. Like, it's
exactly,
they're not going to not build shit around the old shit. You know, like, it's
same with the Alamo, where the Alamo is like
it's in the middle of downtown Austin.
Yeah,
or San Antonio rather.
Yeah, it's like a city. It's like the movie Up. Like, imagine that, the house in the movie Up. That's what it is for most of these landmarks. The pyramids as well.
They're they're just in the middle of, like, incredibly modern architecture because of course they would be. Like, the world has continued to move on, you know?
there's a Pizza Hut 100 feet from the pyramids.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So it was like, really great when when Sully's like looking for his keyhole, and like Chloe and Nate are in this underground club that was this catacomb, but now it's like this hip nightclub, which like, yeah, of course, like that, sure, that would happen. That has happened. Yep. And then Sully's like, I'm literally in a Papa John's. And he is in a Papa John's.
Yeah.
You know, it's Last Crusade when they have to break through the bottom of the library to find the Knight's Tomb because, you know, at what was at that point modern Venice was built on top of it. So it's the same problem. It's just in 2022 as opposed to like 1933 when Last Crusade takes place. So it's like a Papa John's has been built around this like ancient fucking puzzle you need to mess with so you can find some treasure.
Yeah, and that shit I really appreciated because it was unexpected.
Yeah.
It was an unexpected idea. It's not in the games, not really.
Not as much, no, yeah.
But I thought that was a good thing to build upon it. Like, that was a good idea. It was cool to see them do something like that that's not completely in the game. Like, yeah, they do stuff with, like, the church that's, like, in 4, but, like, it's just, like, they never did that. And so that was that was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, it was like when they go to the church in this one where they begin to find their clues, like there's a literal gift shop there, and then Nate notices one of the postcards there that his brother sent him. And that's just like another extension of that idea. It's like, oh, this place where they're looking for this artifact has a fucking gift shop right there, because of course it would.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me of Assassin's Creed, actually. There's the one, I think it's 3? Is it 3? The one where your homestead, you're in your future plot, you're at the same homestead, but it's the future?
I don't know. I didn't play 3.
Oh, okay. They do a thing where, you know how you have like a homestead in some of them and you have to like build it up, and yeah, they do where like that in the future is like there's cars and it's a tourist spot and you're just like walking around in there. It's just kind of cool. Good use of having like the same map, you know, in a game. Yeah, they should make an Assassin's Creed movie, Tom, with Michael Fassbender.
God, like that. Okay, like compare that movie to this one, and it's like, boy, Assassin's Creed is like an example of a movie that's like betraying its gamer fan base, because that movie did not understand anything about the game.
Yeah, it's more of just like, I don't know what fans want out of these parameters. That's kind of where everything is in my head, is like, this is as good as it can get in these parameters.
I agree.
And the parameters in my mind is it's a movie and not a miniseries. It's a global blockbuster in this day and age.
It's a 4-quadrant PG-13 blockbuster, yep.
Yes, which is me lowering the bar. Like, I am lowering the bar by saying that, for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think Uncharted needs to be... I'm not looking for like an Academy Award-winning film, you know?
No,
like,
that's all...
I don't care enough about Uncharted as a property because Uncharted is just... It's just Indiana Jones.
It's just Indiana Jones, yeah. And it's like, that's all the games ever were 4-quadrant blockbusters, you know?
Right,
like,
right. I'll say this: the games have more heart, and it's also because they have more time to do the stuff. But like, if you're looking for, you know what I'm going to hold to a very high standard as opposed to this, and I say it because the games are very similar. The Last of Us TV show.
Yes.
That needs to fucking nail it in my head, because all they literally have to do is just do the games. And if they fuck that up, then it's like, what the fuck are we doing? And The Last of Us means more. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I got emotional at the end of Uncharted 4. Was that the last one?
Yes. When they flash forward to the daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was absolutely emotional, but not because the game was overall emotional. Was because they just did a really good job at closing it out there and making me feel like, ah.
The game was a little emotional, but yeah, it was. And I agree with you that the games definitely have more heart. I don't think this movie was without that though, which is a big reason why it worked on me. Like all all the characters were charming and made sense, and I was invested in what the fuck they were doing. I want to watch Tom Holland do flips across Europe for 19 more hours. I don't care.
Right. It's the same principle, I think, of adapting a book, which is that if you've read the book and you're a fan of the book, it's kind of hard to imagine a movie version ever being good enough. Right?
I think games are a little bit different because I think
it depends on the game.
That's true. That it would be hard to do let's just do I think what you said about Last of Us is correct, because a Last of Us adaptation kind of needs to be that story.
Yes.
But when you're adapting other games like, Uncharted or Mortal Kombat or something like that, you can just you don't have to be as beholden to the source material, in my opinion. You're not adapting a specific story for a movie like Uncharted. You're adapting the characters. I think it's the important thing to get right. And then you're trying to come up with your own story that feels in line with what the games have been and what these characters have done in the series. And I think it's not quite one-to-one like it is for books, because adapting a book is you're literally adapting that story.
Yes.
So I think games you can have a little bit more leeway. For me anyway, that's how I look
agree.
at it.
I do think with something like Uncharted, part of me is just start with the first game and just work your way through, because they sort of take from everything with this movie.
A little bit,
and
yeah.
I get it. I get it, because they just want to use what works or what was the best stuff. But I do think you can kind of, again, honestly, it should have been it should have been a TV show where every season is a game. That would have, I think, would have been fucking amazing. But I agree with you generally with Uncharted, where it's if you're gonna make a movie, then you're gonna have to shorten it no matter what.
Yeah.
So why not just kind of cannibalize it and do what works?
Mm-hmm.
And this movie especially, it doesn't need to be emotional like Uncharted 4 was, because Uncharted 4 is about adventurers growing old and hitting that point. And they did a really good job at and maybe it's because I played it at a certain time in my life, but they did a really good job with someone dealing with that idea. And it just, I don't know, it was a really fun adventure. It's tough to capture that in a movie. I do think one of the other things that, not fully missing, but the set pieces, I feel like I haven't played the earlier Uncharted's in a while, but I feel like there's always that awe-inspiring moment where you walk in on an amazing, I guess what it is, and it's part of the treasure hunting aspect that I think was missing from this, is that idea of you're going through the jungle for a while and you have an adventure and you fall down a slope or something, and suddenly you're in a pirate city.
Yeah.
An abandoned pirate city. There's this awe-inspiring aspect to the games that I don't think they really hit in this.
That's true.
Yeah.
When he finally finds the treasure, it's not they don't throw the moment away, but it could have been more impactful. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I really do think there just needed to be a more of a moment there where it's going through a dark cavern or some sort of puzzle where you just don't want to be there, and then he emerges, and then he's like Goonies. You needed to Goonie a little more.
You got to Goonie it up.
Yeah. Did you get nervous when they swung on those ancient ropes on the pirate ship? I was like, don't do that, Mark Wahlberg.
You should probably not do that.
Yeah, he bets his life on the first rope he swings across.
Sure. He wants that treasure, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and if people don't know they give him a moment where basically he has to choose between saving Drake and getting his treasure. I do think, like a lot of these movies, I'm always I feel like you could have done both, but it's fine.
I mean, I don't know. I appreciate the moment.
It's not the point.
Yeah, it's not the point.
No, it's not the point.
It's not the point.
This is me watching Last Crusade and being just give it a second. You can get that grail. Just grab the grail, Andy.
You're missing the entire point of that one.
Yeah. But he can get it. It's right
use your
there.
Whip. Use your whip.
Use your whip.
Whip the grail.
Use your fucking whip.
Whip the grail, you piece of shit. What do you carry that thing for?
Exactly.
Carry that fucking whip.
Yeah, that is I feel like the primary reason to have that whip, right?
Yeah, you get a treasure grabbing whip.
Yeah, that's a treasure grabbing whip.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Okay, that's the only moment of the film I was like, well, hang on, that sucks. Is when Braddock shows up in the cave to get the pirate ship. Because how the hell did they know where it was? Like they set up that
they do a thing where she sees him go by, and the implication.
Okay,
remember she's using her little pirate. Why can't I think what it's called? Telescope. And she sees him boat by. Okay. And I think that's enough for us to say,
I must have looked down. My phone was blowing up when I was watching this movie, so I must have looked down
Mr.
when that
Popular.
happened. Okay. No,
Yeah.
it was nothing important at all.
Yeah.
Which is why it was really annoying.
Oh yeah.
But okay,
This is
so
the stuff where
never
it's
mind.
like,
That's
yeah.
fine.
There's some, again, lowering the bar, some stuff that honestly this movie does that it's like all movies should do, but it was nice to see. For example, setting up the app on Sully's phone, and then that's how he finds Drake later.
There's, again, I don't want to
praise the film for this stuff.
I don't want to get, I don't want to be dazzled by plant and payoff and blow smoke up a movie's ass for doing very basic storytelling. But I totally get it. I appreciate when that happens, because so often they'll set something up or pay something off, but don't do the other thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they'll set something up and never pay it off, or they'll pay something off that they never set up. And it's like, it's much better storytelling when you can have a continuous narrative, It's more of like, that's the sort, like, this is at a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics, again, baffling to me.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes. It's Rotten Tomatoes. But like, I'm looking
true.
like,
yeah, it's they do pass fail, and very often they'll give things a fail that aren't really, or they'll give things a pass that aren't really.
And for what it's worth, it has a 90% audience score, which is that's actually not like, if I was King Rotten Tomatoes, I'd say like, I'd give it like an 80, maybe 85, but like 90 is not bad. Like I kind of agree with that, where it's like, this was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going into this movie. Like, it's sort of like I was excited for this movie for a while, and then the reviews were trashing it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't as excited going in.
I was like a little bummed going into the movie. I was like, I was so hoping this is going to be good, and it's kind of getting it's kind of getting uncharted upon.
I also didn't particularly like the opening scene, like that set piece, because it's just so fake. Like, he's CGI in some of the shots. And so like, it was like, okay, off to a bad start. And then it was immediately better, from then on. And so
I bet that was a note too, to like, cause it's the movie, the movie opens with him hanging out of the back of the plane. And then it's like a flashback to him and his brother as kids.
I don't think that can't be that maybe a script note, but that had to have been planned in the production.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the writing, I mean, like, because they write it, but you're right. It was probably a script note, right? Where it's like, we need action immediately.
Right. We don't want to start it with these two kids, even though that's like the beginning of the arc there. But you know what? It's fine. It would probably be a better story if it didn't open with him hanging out of the back of that plane, but it doesn't really hurt it.
No, it doesn't hurt it at all. I didn't think it hurt it that much. I just thought the sequence was it's so CG heavy.
Yeah.
To the point that, again, he's CG in a few of the shots.
In some of them, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know why I need to watch this. Like, like, again, it's that problem of like, the more stunts, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Give me, like, when it comes to action, I want to feel like I'm not just watching somebody's computer. Like, here, I made this on a computer. It's like, that's cool, man. But you're a giant company, so I'm not impressed.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah. Like, if a friend made that sequence on their computer, I'd be like, this is amazing. But you're fucking PlayStation and Sony Pictures.
You're Sony, man. Like, open up that wallet.
Yeah. Open up that wallet. Give me a fucking practical explosions and stunts. Crash a real plane.
Yeah.
Crash a real plane.
Or
a helicopter, rather.
Drop a real 17th century galleon from the fucking sky. You cowards.
Honestly, like, Christopher Nolan loves doing that shit. And it's like one of the things I always like when he did the Batman, it was like, damn right you do it practically. You're making a stunt movie. You're making Batman. It's an action movie. You drop stuff from planes. You ruin ecosystems by dropping fuselages over, like, where did they shoot that scene? It was like Scotland or something.
I think. I don't remember.
Yeah.
You're talking about the plane in Dark Knight Rises, right?
Yeah, I am. I just
that
need
was
that
bonkers.
spectacle.
That's a piece of shit movie, but that sequence is out of control.
Right. And in my mind, that should be the standard, not the exception. When making an action film, because it's just, and even if it's a superhero film, it's just like the whole point is action. I want to see action, real action. Otherwise, what are we doing?
That's true. I feel like there's only a couple of people or franchises that can get away with that because it's expensive, it's dangerous, and it's a logistical nightmare to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you
but
kind of
that used to be everything, you know?
To a degree. I mean, it depends on the movie, but like I think to do that now in like 2022, you have to be Christopher Nolan or like the Fast and Furious franchise. And so it's frustrating. Right. It's more frustrating that like Fast and Furious didn't do it in that last one as opposed to Uncharted.
Because back in the day, if they needed Indiana Jones to ride a crazy roller coaster minecart, that's all stop motion animation.
That's a model in stop motion, yeah.
Yeah. So if they were making that today, it would be CGI.
Yeah, 100%.
Either way. But there's that's more of like a grumpy old man critique where it's like, it just looked better. But I still think like we keep talking about Indiana Jones. That's why that movie in that Indiana Jones movie was such a fart to me, is that it opens with that motorcycle scene, and it's like, oh fuck, we got Indiana Jones, and they're like, you like that? Now we're gonna do a CGI car chase in the jungle with monkeys. And it was like, what are you doing? You had the right idea.
Yeah.
And so like when it comes to like it's when they start CGIing stuff like car chases and shit where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? In this, they can't quite. My critique isn't that they CGI'd the pirate ship being dropped by a helicopter. It's that they could have scaled down the action in order to make it more practical. And I think it would have been better.
I don't know. Uncharted needs to feel big.
Uncharted is big.
Yeah.
But you have two main action sequences in this. Two like vehicle action sequences. And they're both just completely CG. And so like I would have taken the plane.
But yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken like the plane one and replaced it with something that was like car chase.
Yeah. Yeah, for what it's worth, I read that Ruben Fleischer, if they get to do a sequel, really wants to adapt the car chase from the beginning of part 4.
That would be wonderful. And if he does it practically, that would be great.
I don't know why you wouldn't do a car chase.
I don't know.
Practically. I mean,
Indiana Jones didn't do it practically in fucking Crystal Skull.
You know, the editing's kind of a mess on it, but he did do that car chase through San Francisco in Venom.
Oh yeah.
So there was a decent amount of practical stuff in that.
Well, I think if you're a director, you always want to do it practically.
Of course, yeah. I was going to say the other thing, you know, not for nothing, Dark Knight Rises had, I think, over twice the budget, or maybe exactly twice the budget. This is like a $120 million film. Like Dark Knight Rises was like $250 or like $230.
It feels like it should be enough, but it is true that like the way movies are done these days.
Mm-hmm. If you want to hang a real fuselage out of a real helicopter,
it's going to cost you some money.
That's a bit of a nightmare.
I do hope that they get this does really well. They're able to do a sequel. They get more money, and they're able to
do more stuff.
Do more stuff. I think that would be great.
Yeah,
but
I hope so.
For what this was, I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I was super hyped, then was bummed by the reviews, and then I'm hyped again. I am thinking about when I'll be able to watch this movie again.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like honestly one of the best reviews I can give a film is like I'm excited to watch it again.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because there's so many films where I'm like, all right, done with that forever.
I never have, like last week's Death on the Nile. Perfectly fine movie. Enjoyed it while I watched it. I don't think I'll watch it again for probably 10 years.
No, why would you?
Why would I? Exactly.
Yeah. No, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about it.
Neither do I.
Yeah, let's get some swans fucking.
Yeah, more swans fucking.
More swans fucking.
More fucking. I think I said my piece. I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I enjoyed what's in this movie.
Did you stay for the mid-credit sequence? There's 2 post-credit sequence. One happens right away, so you won't miss that.
I had to pee really bad.
Oh, man. Okay, so the mid-credit sequence fucking... if you noticed in the end credits, so you might not have even saw this, but like Pilu Asbæk is credited in this movie. Like his name shows up like it's like 6th or 7th in the credits, and he played Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. He's the fucking leather pirate in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah,
bad guy from Overlord. So he's just this pure chaotic pirate from Game of Thrones. But totally did not remember him being in the movie, and that's because he's not. He's a cameo in this mid-credit sequence where he once again appears to be playing a pirate complete with an eye patch, and it is amazing.
No. Oh, incredible.
Yeah, it flashes forward a little bit to like it shows Sully and his mustache, and he's wearing like one of the shirts that Sully wears in the game, and it's clearly they've done a few jobs together and they're on another job, and like Pilu Asbæk is the bad guy that they're like running afoul of in this mid-credit sequence. Yeah.
They also revealed that the brother is alive, which is no surprise if you've played the games. If you played
the games, it's pretty much the same thing happened. He got shot and got left behind and is now languishing in a prison in the Philippines, I think, in this movie.
I was scared he was going to show up, like not as a teaser, so they did a good job with that.
I was expecting him to as well, but I like that they didn't do that because this movie is more about him connecting with Sully.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm looking at behind the scenes of this. Did you know David O. Russell was supposed to direct this?
Uh-huh.
What the fuck?
Yeah, for a long time. That was back when Mark Wahlberg was attached as Nate.
Wow.
They've been trying to make this movie for like 15 years.
Okay. Wait, hold on. It doesn't matter. I'm just doing some Googling now.
Mm-hmm. Are we giving us the Joe Rogan experience?
Well, no, I don't think it's the same David O. Russell. Wait.
No, it is.
IMDb just fucked up. Yeah, why would they do that? It would just be a movie about them trying to escape like David O. Russell.
Yeah.
Just like having a fucking fit.
Yeah, we got to get away from this monster.
Yeah, it'd be like an action scene, but like it's just shit being thrown at them by David O. Russell.
I would watch a movie where David O. Russell played the villain. I would watch an Uncharted sequel where David O. Russell was the bad guy.
Right.
Like he just shows up like Werner Herzog occasionally will in movies. It's like, I am the bad guy in this film now. Have fucking David O. Russell in there. Yeah, no, he was going to make this movie like back in the late aughts. He was like the first director that was attached to it.
Why would he even fucking make this?
No idea. I think it was right after The Fighter.
Oh, okay. Sure.
You're not the fighter. I'm the fighter. Now I'm going to be the Uncharted. You want to get shot at? I don't want to get shot. I want to be Uncharted. My friend David's is going to direct the movie. We're going to get Joe Pesci to play Sully. It was one of the people they considered to play Sully.
Joe Pesci, yeah, I see this. Yep. That doesn't make any sense either.
That is bizarre. That is weird. What is
this nightmare?
That is weirder casting than Mark Wahlberg as Sully.
This is honestly like... I'm seeing all the versions that they were going to do.
This movie went through a lot of different... This movie was in development hell for a while.
Yeah. Lowering the bar a bit, like all things considered here, I'm like, well, it came out pretty good.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
So considering the nightmares. Yeah. Like, yes, we didn't get Nathan Fillion. Yes, and that is a bummer. But...
I kind of appreciate that we got...
could have gotten Mark Wahlberg and Joe Pesci.
What would have that even been?
It would have been a lot of fun, but not for good reasons,
It wouldn't have been memorable. We would still be talking about that right now, but for none of the reasons they would have intended, for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on that real quick, so I'm glad you brought that up. Obviously, Nathan Fillion was like the dream casting for a lot of fans of the game, and he even did that like short film that was pretty sweet that I think also had Ernie Reyes Jr. in it.
Might have.
As Eddie, if you remember him from the first game.
Nope.
He was the guy that was like the leader of all the pirates. Right. He had the gold guns. Anyway, I think Tom Holland works better because Tom Holland can actually do the parkour shit, or at least a level of it, because he's a very physical person. He was, a dancer, and he's very athletic in that way.
Here's what it is that, like, I get it. I get why they want Nathan Fillion, because he's basically just Nathan Drake.
Nathan Drake is very not subtly based on Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, so I absolutely get it. I was just pleasantly surprised with Tom Holland, and I get why they would start him this young. Yeah, because they want to make they want
to make a bunch. They want this to be a franchise.
Yeah, and so, like, from a very practical producing standpoint, I'm like, yeah, I get why they did it. But also, Tom Holland's he's very charismatic. So
of course,
even though he didn't feel like the same character, I still, like, enjoyed him in this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know if I need him to be the exact same character, to be honest.
I don't need it. That's something.
Sometimes we change characters.
Yeah.
Norman Bates in the book Psycho was very different than Norman Bates in the movie Psycho. And they're both, it's a classic character. It's like these things, they change.
It's different mediums. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to tack on to what I said about adapting video games earlier. It's like I don't need it to be the game exactly, because I'll just play the video game. Like,
right.
Bring something to the table that is like a different version of it, or like a different adaptation of it or something.
It definitely still depends, because going back,
it depends. Like,
yeah, like stuff like Last of Us. It's just like, well, maybe they'll go rogue and create an even better story. It's just, statistically speaking, maybe they probably won't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that where it's like, I don't know, man. Just do what's in the game, because the game was really good.
No.
It depends. With Uncharted, it's like, I can see, there's nothing like incredible out of the games. I don't know. There's still moments from the games that I'm like, you bet you really should take that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they took the plane. That was smart. There's other set pieces like that they could certainly use for sequels, for sure.
What I'm talking about, though, is like one thing again that I feel is missing is, like, remember in the 4 where they're like in the pirate village and they're slowly finding like the corpses and working out what happened. And they find them all, like, at dinner, and like they've been poisoned. That shit was great.
Yeah.
And, like, I really could have used more of that.
Yeah, for sure.
They should have also been in a crypt where mummies keep exploding, and they're like, fuck this. Why is this even here? I hate this. Mm-hmm. Because I hated that, Tom.
It was bullshit. Or they have to ride like a wave runner and avoid exploding barrels. And it's really shitty, and it sucks.
When was that? Was that in?
That's in the very first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the worst part of the game.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Or he has to crouch behind cover for 30 minutes, shooting 58 bad guys.
Oh God, they do the stuff where they crouch for cover, like behind crates in this.
Yeah, in
the plane. I was like, yeah, that's the Uncharted I know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay, now for real, I have nothing else to say.
Okay. Hey, folks.
Hey.
Thanks for listening. Listen, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. For $5 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Spiel Boys, Star Trek The Next Futurama. Those are all on there for $5 a month. For $10 a month, you can watch movies with us every Friday night. We watched
Icebreakers and Goonies.
Oh,
not Goonies.
God,
Encino
not Goonies.
Man. Encino
we
Man.
watched Icebreakers and Encino Man.
We sure did.
Jesus. So we had a Sean Astin.
Sean Astin and the concept of ice was our theme last week. Who knows what it'll be this week?
We have secret themes or not so secret themes, and it's up to you to guess what they are.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah, do that. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you'll find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Yeah.
You penetrating swans, you.
Mm-hmm. Also check out Dog, starring Channing Tatum. That's out.
Sure. Why wouldn't you do that?
I know.
Make a day
Why
of it.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Make a day of it. Just go theater hopping.
Mm-hmm.
They don't check.
Yeah, it's not illegal. You can do that.